Everyone hears it. Amazon talks about it. If you're working with an agency probably talks about it. But then there is there's a pretty dramatic underutilization of it. And from my perspective, what I've noticed is the reason for that is just lack of awareness of what is actually inside it and how that can be used. And that's really what I want to cover today. Um, and hopefully have you walk away with a fundamentally strong frame, which can hope then lead to ideas around how it can be leveraged better. So let's just dive in. When you think about your shoppers and their journey to purchase of your products, it's often pretty circuitous. Some will search for products, buy right away. Some will take their own sweet time, buy several days later. I have a made up path in front of you, which is, let's just say I'm shopping for running shoes, but I'm someone that sees a DSP ad first, and an impression, and maybe I click on one of the ads. I come back a few days later, search on Amazon. I'll see I'll click on a sponsored ad, maybe followed by this sponsored display, and then I go on to add it to a wish list, add it to cart, and then purchase. That's a sequence you see in front of you. Traditionally, with this, there's been a few challenges, in terms of measurement. The main ones is what I've called out here, which is there has been no connection between upper funnel and lower funnel. You have no idea whether your awareness campaigns are leading to anything on the lower funnel. So there's a break there. Also, all credit in the traditional reporting in the ad console, whether it's DSP or sponsored ad, goes to the last click. You have no idea what the first touch was and whether it's helping with driving conversions. And lastly, high purchase intents like add to carts or add to gift registry or baby registry or so on and so forth, you just don't have access to those events to target those customers. This is exactly where AMC comes in. Every one of those touch points at a shopper level is being stored within Amazon Marketing Cloud. Very specifically, what I mean by that, hey, if I go shopping and search for things and go to product detail pages and click and buy, all those events are tracked within AMC and tied to me. I get a unique user ID within AMC. Okay. Let's break this down. AMC at the core is a set of tables with information about all the interactions every shopper has had with your brand. That's really what AMC is at its core. So I'll walk through a few examples, right? So this is not an exhaustive list of tables within AMC, but here's three of them: DSP impressions, DSP clicks, and sponsored ads related events. Notice that there's a field called user ID all the way at the top. Every table has a field called user ID. That is what makes AMC unique. That is how you stitch a number of things together within AMC. So you look at DSP impressions table, it's got a user ID, and then you scroll down. It's not an exhaustive list. If you log into the AMC console, you see a full list of fields. Every campaign, exact date, who the user is, and every impression is captured in that table. Similarly for clicks, and on the right is sponsored ads related set of data. But this is the type of stuff that gets captured inside AMC. Now, so what makes AMC unique? It's the user ID field. Every interaction is tied back to the user ID. Okay. I've given some examples here. I'll touch on what those interactions are that are captured. But every interaction is tied back to the user ID. That field alone is what makes AMC unique relative to vendor central or seller central reports or ads reports. Now, AMC is what's called a clean room. And many of you may not be familiar with what that means. It's a privacy safe um, um, data store which has to comply with certain rules and regulations. And so I've listed a few here. What's different? I mean, we're all used to spreadsheets and databases and dashboards. I want to call out what is unique about clean rooms. And by the way, Amazon is not the only entity that has a clean room. Instacart recently released one, and there'll be more. But what you have to remember is, even though there is user ID available in each of the tables within AMC, you will never be able to see the actual user ID. For example, you will never be able to go and say, let me go track down Sreenath and see exactly what he did, or Rolando and see exactly what he did. You can't do that, right? That would be a violation of privacy. You can't actually see a user ID. You cannot query data based on a specific user ID. This is a little bit of a nuanced thing, but keep in mind that depending on the queries question you ask, sometimes it returns blank data because you are not meeting the threshold of privacy. What I mean by that, I'll give you a very specific example. You might ask a question, how many customers have I acquired by zip code in the US? If you have zip codes where the number of customers you have acquired is less than 100, they come back with a blank. There's a threshold. Okay. Similarly, you could say the same thing on campaigns. By campaign, I want to know how many net new customers have been acquired in the last 30 days. You will see all the records where the number of users is above a certain threshold, but below that, you'll get a blank record, right? There's a concept called aggregation thresholds. So, which is why, unlike other databases and other data sets, you could be querying for stuff and sometimes you get no data back, and that's normal with a clean room. But to keep in what you have to keep in mind is you've got signals at a user ID level. You cannot query any one user ID, but you can start to understand groups and cohorts of users, right? What are they doing? How do I create a group which can then turn into an audience that I can then target with sponsored ads and DSP? Okay, we'll touch on use cases shortly, but hopefully this gives you a sense for how AMC dataset is just a little bit different than all of the datasets we've been used to. If you remembered nothing from this conversation, but want to take away just one frame that you can keep in your permanent memory, it is that end of the day, AMC is a collection of all the events and interactions experienced by a shopper um, at an individual shopper level. Okay? And those events we put in two buckets: advertising events, such as impressions, clicks, and shopping events like detailed page view, interaction with reviews, content, or add to cart, so on and so forth. This is what I would remember what AMC is. Now, one of the things Amazon is doing as they introduce more and more surfaces where ads show up, all of the measurement is happening through AMC. So they all flow right into AMC. So at this point, it is very much the center of all advertising measurement. You can even tag, I mean, it's not just on Amazon properties, right? You can tag your own D2C site, and those signals will flow into Amazon Marketing Cloud. But the point of this being, it is now the center of all advertising measurement, but as they share more and more data, which I'll talk about later in the presentation, it is increasingly becoming a place to do effective overall channel measurement as well. Okay, so let's talk about the types of signals, the types of events that are captured. Like I said, there's advertising events, there's shopping events. I won't read every bullet here, but you get the idea. Searches, impressions, clicks on the ad side, detailed page views, gift lists, shopping cards, any action around those things fall into the shopping events bucket. Now, when it comes to data sets, there are broadly 3 data sets. When you log into AMC, you will see. The first one is everything around ads, from impression all the way to conversion. and everything in between. That is your default free data set. Uh, Anyone with a sponsored ads account today has access to AMC through the console, sponsored ads and DSP. You can get a new AMC instance created with those signals. But what comes free within that is all your ad exposed events. Okay. The and then there is another component which is, okay, you've got ads, but you to complete the story you need organic data as well. So that's where that falls under Amazon Insights. It is a paid data set. Price changes uh, by each brand. In fact, when you go to there's often free trials on that. There is a free trial on that. So when you click on subscribe, you'll see what the price you might have to pay is to get access to that. But the organic data set falls under Amazon Insights. Now, there's additional data sets that continue to expand. So they've got data from experience. So if you're in the automobile category, you could tie every all the online ads down to a specific purchase at a particular dealership. That's the vehicle purchase insights from Experian. There's also Amazon Garage data. Both are automobile focused, but there's more and more data sets that are coming that are now becoming part of AMC. The third bucket here is what's called advertiser uploaded. You can upload stuff into AMC. And now you might ask, why would I do that? There's two reasons. One is if you have your own first party data, such as your own list of D2C customers, and you want to understand overlaps with Amazon customers, or you want to exclude them from targeting via DSP or sponsored ads, actually DSP, sorry, you can upload your first party data. Or, and we see this happen a lot, the second bucket, where if you're a decent sized brand that has a decent sized product portfolio and a whole bunch of sub brands, you want outputs from AMC by product categories, by sub brands. Now, AMC doesn't know those things. So, what you can do is upload your custom metadata into AMC so that the outputs on the questions you ask already come with those categories and segments baked in. Okay. Because remember, AMC is not a data set where you can extract data, put it in a spreadsheet, and then do VLOOKUPs with whatever other data sets you have, right? So which is why this is the advertiser uploaded section allows you to ingest your own specific data so the outputs speak your language. So those are the three data sets. Again, the default free one is the Amazon Ads data set. There's a couple of questions here. Let me see what's been asked. Valentina, the question is, what is the specific value of the aggregation threshold? Good question. It actually changes depending on what the field is. In fact, if you go to the schema of the tables within AMC, there is a value for aggregation threshold. It says high, medium, low, or very, I think it says very high, high, medium, low. User ID gets a very high value because you can never see it. But there is other entities that get different thresholds. So it's just not one value. It just changes by the specific element you're looking for. One thing to note, if you're going to create audiences, the threshold there is 2,000. So you need to have at least 2,000 shoppers in an audience pool for it to get created. Otherwise, it fails. Happy to send a separate note on aggregation thresholds. I think we have a blog post written about this. We should probably share that with you. We'll do that. There's a question about use cases. I'm going to defer that until I get to my next set of slides. Let's keep going. All right, use cases. So, okay, so you've got user ID that is allowing you to tie a whole bunch of stuff together. What do you do with it? Use cases from AMC really fall under two buckets. You can, because of this grain of data that exists, you can now start to answer questions you couldn't answer before. Hold off for a couple of minutes and I'll walk you through a number of examples. And then, of course, the other important use case is audience creation. If you look at what is going on with sponsored ads in particular, and then DSP, all of course, sponsored ads started off with auto campaigns. Then they were you could use keywords for targeting. Then came product targeting, and now you see that audiences is has been this new way of targeting. I shouldn't say new anymore. It's been a little while. You can target audiences through sponsored product and sponsored brand and apply bid modifiers, or you can target them in sponsored display. And of course, you could use them in DSP. So the refinement of audiences and who you target has become an important lever in your ad execution. Where AMC comes in is it allows you to create those audiences uh, targeted, specific to your business. So I would say insights, which is let's go answer questions you're going to answer before, and audiences. Those are the two primary use cases. And we'll go through examples in a moment. Let me just see if there's any more questions I should take. All right. No more questions. I'll keep rolling. Let me see. Oops. I should have done that. Okay, I'll keep the size this way. So let's go through examples on insights. There is, first, I'm going to walk you through NTB. NTB stands for new to brand. Because you have the user ID, there's a number of new to brand related questions you can now answer. How many net new customers did I acquire last month, last week? Not by a campaign, not by a specific campaign type, but across your account, across DSP, organic, sponsored ads. How many net new customers have you acquired? You can make this an operating metric going forward. Other variations on new to brand. What products drive the most new to brand customers for your brand? We had a client that, based on this information, they fundamentally changed what their ad budget allocation looked like by product and shifted more to products with much higher new to brand acquisition metrics. In a portfolio of almost 2,000 products, there were about 11 that stood out. Even though the ACOS numbers may not have been favorable or relatively not as good as other products, they moved the budget there anyway because of an outsized rate of acquisition of new to brand customers for those products. You could do that very quickly using AMC. Here is by campaign type. So sponsored products, sponsored brands, sponsored display, DSP. What are new to brand? Like absolute quantity of new to brand users, sales, units sold, so on and so forth. The next is analyzing what paths are shoppers taking. This is, I'm sure people have seen this. This is a view of by campaign type, what are sales, new to brand metrics, purchase rates, so on and so forth, by different campaign types. So for example, like you've got paths here that start with DSP and then end on sponsored ads. You've got a couple of paths here that start with sponsored product TV. And then on top of that, you can also do things like, hey, I want to know what do metrics look like for people that first saw DSP and then are converting through sponsored products, right? So I've got filters on first touch and last touch. These are all screenshots from the Intentwise Explore AMC solution, but hopefully you're getting an idea of things that are possible. So I covered new to brand. I covered different types of path analysis you can do. Again, all tied back to that user ID. Here's a couple of other types of use cases. So product associations. You could look at, hey, if someone bought product A over the next month, 2 months, 3 months, what else are they buying? Okay, those are associations. So you can do a pretty detailed analysis across your entire product portfolio. Here is someone people are really loving at the moment. So we have created this view where by product, you can get a view of how many people are abandoning and after what action. So The way to read these columns that are in front of you, so you've got a product, X number of people have seen the detailed page view and abandoned or engaged with review content or wish lists, gift lists, so on and so forth. There are multiple uses of this, right? One is finding products where there's a pretty dramatic drop off between, let's say, detailed page view and add to cart. Maybe there's a content issue. Maybe there's things you want to change. Also, from a ad execution standpoint, either you can go construct those pool of audiences that saw the detailed page view and did not convert and go target them. Or you might say, look, I want to go find those folks that have added this to the wish list or a gift list. Oh, by the way, it's a very small number. I'm going to go create a lookalike audience, because then I can, Amazon will go find those people that look like these folks and give you a much larger audience to experiment with. So those are some, what I'd like to say, like basic use cases, right? Now, what things have gotten even more interesting. So a few months back, Amazon released a 5-year retail purchase data set. Now, if you're a 1P brand, you never had access to purchase data by a unique customer identifier. That has just changed. If you're a 3P brand, you had hashed buyer IDs in coming through the order API or the seller fulfillment report. I think the order API got deprecated recently. What's valuable through AMC that you don't get through Seller Central is you can now tie this data to advertising also. Right? What you see is an actual spec from an Amazon document about what is in that table. So you literally have, again, you see user ID at the bottom and all of the different fields down to the ASIN. By the way, earlier someone asked me aggregation threshold. You see that last column? That's where it shows you thresholds of aggregation. Very high is what you see against user ID. Again, very high implies you'll never be able to see the actual value, right? But back to the 5-year look back. So you've got this data going all the way back to 5 years. It refreshes daily. It does come at a cost. It costs $500 a month to have access. You've got a 60-day trial, so you can try and see if there's value for you. But what does this unlock? Some obvious use cases, but use cases that you couldn't get to before. Customer lifetime value, right? So here's a view where I'm starting from Q4 of 2021, and what this chart represents is people who that were acquired in each of those quarters. What does their look forward lifetime value look like? A 3-month view, a 6-month view, or a 1-year view. You can do a 3-year view if you want it, but this is now possible because of the 5-year retail data set. Churn analysis. Where are those big drop-offs of people? And by the way, you can go create an audience of those people and go after them. Right? Repeat purchase patterns. How many people have bought how many times. Right? No matter what brand you are, this view is always a surprise, because you'd be surprised by the number of folks that repeatedly buy. What can you do with that? You can create an audience pool of those folks and then target them whichever way you want to in your advertising, or maybe even exclude them sometimes from your advertising. So that is insights, right? I'm going to cover a few custom audience use case example as well. Let me see if there's any questions. Okay. Can you look at product associations with non-brand non-brand products? I think the ask is about products that are not in your portfolio. The answer is no at the moment. This is really like just your product portfolio. There's a question here. If we want to target multiple audiences, then we have to create multiple campaigns, or what is the best practice to get the max benefit out of audiences? Yeah, so one of the constraints right now is the sponsored product and sponsored brand audiences. You can only have one audience per campaign. So that's an Amazon limitation. There's no work around that. So yes, you'll have to create multiple and have those audiences. Hopefully they'll change that soon. But on sponsored display, you can have multiple audiences, right? And of course, on DSP, you can have multiple audiences. The one audience per campaign on sponsored product, sponsored brand is an Amazon constraint at the moment. There's no way around it. Let's see what else. Any more questions before I dive in? Okay, great question. So there is Lottie Johnson. The question here is, can we get to true new to brand, or is it Amazon's new in the last 12-month metrics? Great question. With the 5-year look back, you can define the math. You can do whatever you want, and frankly, you can do whatever you want with the other data set too. It's just that the standard data set, the purchase data, is only 13 months going back. The traffic data goes 24 months, so you're limited by that window. But if you have the access to the 5-year look back, then you can come up with your math. Also, the math on new to brand is also unique to you, right? So for example, uh, we were talking to a brand where there's a main product and there's an accessory or a refill. So they could have bought the main product from some other channel, but they're coming and buying the accessory or the refill on Amazon.